Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, where today we will be taking a look at the Era 2 Eastern Alliance Heavy, the BZT-70. The BZT is the current season level 100 reward tank, so with a little bit of elbow grease and 2000 gold, this tank can be yours. Outside of the season though, it will cost you 12,500 gold. But, the question is it any good? Well, in my opinion, the answer to that is both yes and no. But before we get into what I think about it, let's see what Wargaming had to say about it before its release.
What are we looking at?
This tank that's on screen is the BZT-70. This is your level 100 reward, and it will be entering the battlefield in Era 2 battles under the Eastern Alliance. Now, its 180mm caliber gun is actually the hardest hitting to come into the Era 2 environment, outside of any ATGM launchers.
Unfortunately, that's not true. The BZT is not the hardest hitting gun in Era 2, ATGM or otherwise. That title still stays with the Rock Crawler. And that news is a bit of a letdown for various reasons. It was exciting to hear that we'd had, a new gun with new alpha highs. But it's also disappointing for anyone that bought this tank thinking that they were going to get the highest alpha gun in Era 2. If you've done that, then well, sorry, that's happened. Yeah, I'm not sure what can be done about that. But nevertheless, the BZT is not a bad tank. For what it is, it's relatively mobile on the flat. It will struggle up hills. The whole traverse feels pretty decent. The reload is long-ish. It's long. I wouldn't call it very long. It's long-ish. And the frontal armor is okay. I mean, you're about to see what the frontal armor can do in this game. It's good enough to fend off a T-72. And then we come to the gun. So T-72M. There we go. Bouncing off my front. It's the gun. It hits hard. It does hit hard. And is it worth the 2,000 gold for this season? Yes, I think it is. I think this tank is certainly worth the 2,000 gold and the effort that you'll need to put in. So there you go. I've just bounced I want to say, based on 1,650 bounce, I want to say I've bounced at least 3 shots there from the T-72. You can go back and check if you want, but I think I've bounced 3 shots off the front. So the frontal armor, it's good enough to do that. Is it worth the full 12,500 gold asking price of outside the season discounts? I'm leaning towards no. If it's on sale for 10,000 or less, then yes, yeah, get it. But full price 12,500, I'm leaning towards no, because the Rock Crawler is the better tank choice in my opinion. And speaking of, let's now take a look at the BZT in a little bit more detail, and we'll compare it to the Rock Crawler. So, the BZT has 380mm of pen on standard rounds, 450mm of pen on gold heat rounds, and 195mm of pen on secondary high explosive. Standard and gold will do an average of 950 alpha, while secondary high explosive will do an average of 1450, which is the number that was probably in the mind of Wargaming when they quoted it. Unfortunately, that is 200 off the record. The Rock Crawler has 390mm of pen on standard rounds, 300mm on HESH, and 150mm on secondary high explosive. Standard will do an average of 1150 alpha, gold HESH will do an average of 1450 alpha, and the King of the Hill, the secondary high explosive, will do an average of 1650. There you go. That is King of the Hill. That's the winner for the highest alpha in Era 2 competition. The BZT has 3,100 hit points, the Rock Crawler has 2,600, the unboosted top speed of the BZT is 50 km an hour, the Rock Crawler's is 56 km an hour, the view range of the BZT is 450 meters, the Rock Crawler's is 510, which is quite a big difference, and finally, the moving concealment of the BZT is 477 meters and 450 454 meters, while the rock crawlers is 416 and 360 meters respectively. So there you go. The high level stats for both, well, the high level stats for the two biggest guns in Era 2. One is a heavy, the other is a TD, and I know it's unconventional of me to cross vehicle classes when I do reviews and comparisons, but honestly, the playstyles between these two tanks is very, very similar. The BZT varies in that it can be played more aggressively. There's no way a rock crawler could have bounced 3 rounds from a T-72 like the BZT did earlier in this game. The BZT's got armor, and I feel like it's got more mobility. It's got more hull traverse mobility. It's not faster in a straight line, but if you're in close quarters, you're going to be able to turn the turret, turn the hull a lot quicker than you can turn the rock crawlers. And also, this is a 360-degree turret. Rock crawler is limited to 180. But that is where the positives for the BZT, in my opinion, that's where they end. Because for me, the lower alpha of the BZT does mean that you can low roll for as low as 760, and when that happens, the gun ends up feeling it feels really quite lackluster. And you're about to see something else that's a little bit lackluster. I shot the ground, fully aimed and hit the ground. It's like, I just waited that long reload. You shot the ground, and when you didn't shoot the ground, you only rolled for 700 and something. This isn't a bad tank, but it's just, at the moment, with what we've covered, it feels like it's missing an edge to it. It's missing something, and the stock reload of the BZT is 18.5 seconds. The rock crawler stock reload is 23 seconds, and with the variation in ammunition types between, with the variation of ammunition types in the rock crawler, I would rather take the rock crawler because I like the variation, and I'm happy to wait the extra 4.5 seconds for a kill shot rather than leaving an enemy tank on 100 hit points or so. But don't get me wrong, the 180mm gun of the BZT is nice, but it is not the infamous 183mm gun of the rock crawler. The BZT is not a bad tank, but I would take the rock crawler any day of the week over the BZT. Alright then, let's take a look at the economy stats of the BZT. It has a 65% silver boost, 10% tank XP boost, 4% free XP boost, and finally a 10% crew XP boost. The 65% silver boost confirms my gut feeling about this tank. The BZT feels slightly lacking, and Wargaming have given it a 65% silver boost just to pick it up slightly. So there you go. The BZT is not broken, it is not toxic, it's well balanced for what it is, and it's got a good silver boost on it to make up for whatever it might be lacking from an in-game performance point of view. Okay folks, that's all I've got for this one. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, if not a dislike, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.